Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Haunting Hour Live. If you're new here, hi, I'm Hauntingly Krista. I'm a spooky content creator and paranormal investigator on TikTok, Instagram, and now here on YouTube. And this is a place where we talk about true paranormal experiences, ghost stories, and all things spooky. We go live every single week, Mondays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you ever miss a stream, don't worry, all episodes are available for rewatch in the live tab on my channel. So you can always come back and get caught up on the scares if you join late or you miss a week for whatever reason live. This is a super interactive show, so come hang out, get spooky with me, and let's chat. I want to hear your experiences always. So if you've ever had a ghost encounter, something unexplained, or a moment that still gives you chills, drop your story in the live chat, leave it in the comments, in the recap video, or if you have a longer story or just want to remain anonymous, you can email me at kristamarykbusiness@hotmail.com and I'll share your story in a future stream. And outside of our twice weekly live stream, there are also new videos every week on the channel. Some will be paranormal investigations, and others will be sit down videos where we talk about all things creepy, haunted, unexplained, etc. So if you love ghost stories and true paranormal encounters and spooky vibes, make sure you're subscribed. And let's get in to tonight's stories. Let me see here. You got people in the chat. Is the video of you and Erica coming soon? It is. We actually just filmed it. So, for those of you who don't know, like I said, paranormal investigations are coming to this channel. There's a few in the bank. We have to get a couple extra pieces of footage coming up very, very shortly, and also finalize editing and things like that after that. So, we're probably looking at end of January, early February release for both of our videos. So if you are not yet subscribed to ebaby.mp4 here on YouTube, make sure to check out our channel because we just did a crazy paranormal investigation of a government building. I don't know how they gave us access to it, but they did. So appreciative. Some crazy things we learned while we were there and also after the fact. And the mayor of the town hall of the place that we investigated is apparently super like into what we just did, and like it will tell all of that in our videos, but just know some crazy things happen, so it's coming. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, so while we're waiting for some more people to join the live, um, actually, let me take a moment real quick because I don't think I shared this to my Instagram, which is my bad. I should have done that. Housekeeping first and foremost, you guys. Um, let me just pop over here before I really start to dive in, because usually for the past few streams, I've been sharing. Ooh, that's me literally talking on live stream. Share, copy link, and smile. That was awkward. Join, come hang out live. Okay. And I promise you guys, next time I will not be doing this while we are currently live. This is an anomaly. Come hang out live, and we're going to add the link in here with a little ghost emoji. Perfect. And we'll move this guy here. And share. Done. Look at us. We're doing things. And actually, while I'm here, I'm just going to post this to Threads too. Or did I post it already? No, I didn't. Come hang out live. Getting spooky. Wow. You would think I would be used to this whole setup by now, but apparently not. Okay. And if you're watching this in the recap, I guess like grab a beverage or something. I'm almost ready, you guys, I promise. Come hang out live, getting spooky. Look at that. You guys are getting the behind the scenes. Alrighty. All right, we're rocking and rolling. So, for tonight's live stream, we are diving into something a little bit different. Real people and real fear. Real real fear. Words are hard. Every story that we're sharing tonight comes straight from people on Reddit answering one simple question. What was the scariest paranormal experience you've ever had in your life? Now, these aren't legends and they're not written by authors trying to scare you. These are firsthand accounts from people who experienced something that they still can't explain. Encounters in their own homes, terrifying moments as children, things seen in the dark, voices heard when no one else was there, and experiences that completely changed how they view the paranormal. Now, some of these stories are short and some are deeply unsettling, and others will make you question what's really out there. So, as we go through them, I want you to know, do you think these are paranormal or is there another explanation? Let me know your thoughts in the chat, or if you're watching this in the rewatch, you can leave it in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if anything we read tonight reminds you of something that has happened to you, share your story in the chat because this is the haunting hour and the best stories are the ones told by the people who live them. Alrighty, so with that being said, let's jump into the first story. So, this first story comes from one Reddit user, and this is how it goes. So the stairs to my attic had smelt like burnt hair for 3 days. Extremely odd because it was just that area and I have a very old, drafty house. On day 4, I came home from work just before midnight, and as soon as I walked through the door, I felt like I had something standing over my shoulder, breathing down my neck. The feeling was so strong that I opened my medicine cabinet so the mirror was against the wall. I also showered with the shower curtain open because I had a powerful need to see the room. After a shower, I was little less on edge until I walked past my 4-year-old daughter's room. The door was closed, and I heard her talking in her sleep. Then I heard a loud crash. I slowly opened the door to find her sleeping on top of the covers and the pile of stuffed animals she insisted on sleeping with scattered across the room. I turned the light on low, looked around the room, and checked her breathing. All seemed well, so I went to bed. The next morning, I asked her if she had a bad dream. She said, "Yeah, there was a man with no arms and sauce on his face, and he kept laughing at me. I told him to go away, but he wouldn't. Then an arm came out of the wall, threw me into the ceiling, and I crashed back down on my bed and went back to sleep." I said, "Sauce on his face?" She said, "Yeah, red, like spaghetti." There's a number of things with that story that are super concerning and alarming to me. And I feel like in any other circumstance, if you woke up and you asked your child or whoever, if they had how their sleep was, if they had a bad dream or whatever, and they said something like that, your instinct would be, okay, it was just like a bad dream or sleep paralysis or something, depending on like the severity of it. The issue that I have with this is the fact that this person, the OP, the original poster, said that they were up, they were walking past the room, heard the daughter talking, and then heard a loud crash. So they heard the sound that then lined up with the daughter being like, "Yeah, I was thrown into the ceiling and landed back in bed." Obviously, when this person opened the door, the stuffed animals are all across the floor. So that almost, like, lines up with, like, the fact that she crashed, maybe everything kinda scattered out, I don't know. But everything about that is so creepy. There is a follow-up from them. They commented after that, that they smudged every corner of every room of the house, ending at the front door. They smudged everyone who lives in the house before, they let the rest of them come back in, and they haven't had any major incidents since. But since, um but since they've been in the house, once every year or so, sometimes a full box, falls off a shelf in the basement or attic, and that hasn't stopped. So, it's giving poltergeist. Hello, Jennifer, welcome in. That story is giving poltergeist, it's giving terrifying, um, borderline giving demon. Because what do you mean you're seeing this man laughing at you with red sauce on his face? It's giving blood. I don't know. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. This next story comes from another Reddit user. These are all from the same Reddit forum, but just to clarify, and they said this. I grew up in a seriously haunted house, so it takes a lot for something paranormal to really scare me. I've seen things, heard things, you name it. Startle me, sure. Scare me, nah. Here's the only time I've ever been actually scared. I lived in an apartment complex about 11 years ago, and other than some terrifyingly large wolf spiders, never heard or saw anything paranormal. Then the old dude who lived across from me had a party one weekend and his brother died. Alcohol poisoning. His body laid there for over 12 hours before anyone, words. um, his body laid there for over 12 hours before everyone thought he was sleeping it off, but nothing major. Then one night I was laying in the bed with my toddler waiting for her to go to sleep, and something blocked the light that had been shining into the room from the bathroom. I whipped my head up off the pillow and looked towards the door, and there was a black mass that was loosely shaped in the shape of a person in the doorway. My whole body started tingling, and I squeezed my eyes shut for a moment because I was terrified and unsure if it was a real person who had broken in or something paranormal. I popped my eyes back open and it was gone. So I hopped out of bed and grabbed my shotgun and a couple shells and took off after it. The only door into the apartment still had both locks locked and the chain was still in place. Windows were closed and locked. I checked under every bed and inside all the closets and didn't find anything. I heard noises again after that, but never saw anything again. I moved a couple months later when my lease was up. I would too. How absolutely chilling. The next story comes from this person, and they said this. I worked in a haunted bowling alley. Our deceased mechanic gave my ponytail a yank in a room where I was the only person, which was verified by security camera, and there wasn't anything to catch my hair on. He liked to be playful and wasn't malicious. I had another experience recently, or had another experience recently that happened to my husband, though. We live on a piece of property out in the swamp. Our house is pretty isolated. My husband woke up from a dead sleep to someone knocking on the front door. He said it was the exact mannerism I knock with. And then a voice said, "Honey," exactly the same way I do. He peeked over the headboard to the front porch and no one was there. You can see the front door clearly from our bedroom window. And there's no hiding spots for anyone of the local crackheads to mess with us, quote. um, Absolutely. Something about mimics just get to me. I've had a mimic experience. I can cover that at the end if you guys want to know. But I also recently shared a clip of my mimic experience to my channel. So if you want to see that, it's one of my most recent YouTube videos. Let's go on to the next story. This one's rather short, but still pretty creepy. I woke up in the middle of the night when I was like 11. I felt as if someone was at my bedroom door and looked. Saw a faint figure of a woman who was not my mother, and felt the hairs in my body stiffen and pulled the blanket over my head until morning. The previous owner was a lady who died there, obviously. It's my only paranormal experience, and it still gives me chills recalling it. I understand that. There's a story that I'm going to tell after I read all of these Reddit users' stories. That's my own. And it's not eerily similar, but there's a common theme with a couple of these stories and one of my most chilling home experiences. And so I've mentioned it a couple times, but I'll tell it again if you guys haven't heard it. And it's I think it would be my most scary paranormal experience at home. It's kind of tied with something that happened in my childhood home as well. But I definitely, as an adult, my most chilling home experience. So I digress. Moving on to the next story. Okay, so this happened, I think, 15 or so years ago when my grandfather passed away. In my culture, the dead are cremated and there are elaborate ceremonies performed. The body carried by people while chanting the name of a Hindu god Ram after it has been cleaned, clothed, and some ceremonial colors put on it. I was never very close to my grandfather, and I barely remember ever having much to talk with him, but my parents say I used to talk to him a lot as a child. Anyway, when he died, I didn't really know much about him other than that he was the patriarch of the family and everyone respected him. I was barely 10 years old then and was supposed to stay at an aunt's house. Sneaky that I was, I managed to follow my mother when she left for my grandfather's house, unaware that I was a few steps behind her. Anyway, the ceremony starts. There's a lot of crying, and soon four people, including my father, my uncles, and someone cannot now remember, carry the body on top of a structure made of bamboo and wood. They chant throughout the way. Nobody noticed that I was following them. They reach the cemetery. There's a lot of crying, and I get bored standing at a distance. It's almost dusk and sit weirdly on a nearby platform. I would later come to know that it was sort of a memorial for the deceased. Sometime between all of this happening, I fell asleep. Hours go by, and when I wake up, there is no one, just the last flames burning through pieces of wood. I panic. I look around to see if there's anyone, but there's no one. I start running towards the pier, pyre. It's supposed to be like a I guess I looked up the meaning of the word because it's a new one to me. And it's like the remnants of material being burned. Hoping some of my relatives might spot me by the fire and get a hold of me. Again, no one. So I start crying. I look around to see if I can find my way to the street. Cemetery was on the outskirts of town and it was huge to my tiny mind. Rows after rows of those memorials I mentioned earlier. It's almost dark and I can hear animals howling at a distance. While all this is happening, I have a creepy feeling that I am being watched. It sends a shiver down my spine, and to this day, I don't remember ever being so scared. It was such a dark and nauseating feeling, a sense of impending doom. I cry louder and start running. Little did I know that I was running deeper into the cemetery, further from the road that would take me home. I reach the edge of the open ground and catch my breath near the tree line. I can hear faint voices coming from beyond the silhouette of the trees in front of me. Perhaps someone might be returning after gathering wood from there. I am again hit with this nauseating feeling, and it's stronger now. To top it all off, every time I walk or run, it felt like I could hear footsteps, like someone right behind me. I turned around several times, yet found no one. I was so afraid at that point that I thought I might die. I took a leap of faith and ran towards the trees. The sound of footsteps behind me grew louder, and it seemed like whoever it was near, almost at arm's length, like they could just reach out and catch and hold me. I am audibly sobbing and shouting for help. There's barely any light, but I remember hearing people in the distance. Suddenly, I'm in a clearing and see there's a community pond with a bathing area, and I can see some people in my family, and I run towards it. No matter how loud I tried to cry, there was no sound coming out of my mouth. Finally, an aunt saw me and ran towards me. The last thing I remember before fainting is a hand on my shoulder and my body almost freezing on the spot. I was sick for a week after that, had nightmares for years, and in general stopped going to my grandfather's house or even the town. To this day, I find it difficult sleeping in the dark and sometimes wake up with a cold sweat and a creepy feeling on my shoulder like someone was holding on to me. So that one was pretty chilling as well. There's something I know cemeteries for the so side note, cemeteries are pretty creepy in general, but there's also, like, a peaceful sense to them in a way. I think it's just the idea of, like, the concept of a cemetery, and it's just bodies on bodies, but because it's a final resting place, it almost has that peace to it. Though, I will say, I stand by this, and I feel like a lot I think I mentioned this in a recent stream. If not, I talk about it all the time whenever I talk about cemeteries being haunted in particular. Um, I have this stance, and I will to the day I die, that cemeteries are rarely haunted. Um, and I've talked about this before. People have been like, "You're crazy. Like, are all cemeteries haunted? There's dead bodies there. Death does not equal a haunting." People can die somewhere, and that place doesn't have to be haunted. There could be dead bodies somewhere. It doesn't necessarily have to be haunted. There could have been no deaths in a place, and it could be haunted. Like it all has to do with like energy and things like that. To that effect, it could also be tragedy related. So I feel like, and for me, I know when I'm gone. I'm not gonna be staying or hanging out in a cemetery. I feel like things that are in cemeteries are usually not good because they're conjured or summoned or what have you. So, fixing this. My little illusion of my backdrop is kinda slipping there. Um, yeah, so I feel like cemeteries are mostly not haunted, but if they are haunted, you should look into why because it could be a lot more alarming than just your grandfather, you know? Moving on to the next story. So this one comes from another user, and this is what they had to say. It was about 4 years ago. It wasn't the first paranormal occurrence to happen, just the one that scared me the most. One night, my 2.5-year-old son woke my husband and I up when he crawled into our bed. I couldn't fall back asleep, so I decided to work on a project in my craft room. I was in there for about 45 minutes when the small monitor to the nanny cams started rapidly flickering on and off. Mind you, these were not motion censored cams, only continuous feed. The cameras are in the living room and our son's room. I went over to the monitor and picked it up. It all of a sudden made this loud, ear piercing sound like a mic feedback. It startled me and I dropped the monitor face down. I noticed the glow around the edges had stopped flickering. I picked up the monitor and turned to look at the screen, and I saw my son standing as still as a statue in the middle of the living room staring at the wall. I started for the door with the monitor still in my hand. When I glanced down again, my son's head turned, only the head, and his eyes went directly to the camera in the upper corner of the room. He had no expression on his face at all. I left the room and went through the small kitchen and dining room, rounded the corner to the living room, and it was empty. The door to our bedroom was on the other side. I went in there, and my son was sound asleep in the same position he was when I left. My husband looked up from his e reader. I asked him if he had woken up and went to the living room, and he told me no. I asked if my husband had gotten up to go to the bathroom or to the kitchen, thinking maybe he just didn't see our son try to follow him. But my husband swears he wasn't, he hadn't left the bed at all. And our son had been peacefully snoring away the whole time. Like I said before, this wasn't the first time we had seen doppelgangers, but it was always so brief that you didn't really have time to get scared or have it completely register yet. This was different. It wasn't just a glimpse. Above all, it was the look on my son's face, that empty void stare when he turned his head to face the camera. Still, even now typing it, it gives me chills. There is something so terrifying to me about doppelgangers, but specifically children in any capacity that has to do with the paranormal. If there is something that's taking the form of a child, whether it's actually a spirit that's a child, or it's a child or it's something that's pretending to be a child, or if it's doppelganger, there's something about children's spirits that are so chilling because why? S- yeah, like I just can't. And it sucks too. Well, I shouldn't say it sucks, but I tend to communicate very well when if I go to a haunted place and I'm investigating it, if there's a child spirit, like a legitimate child spirit there, they tend to gravitate towards me, and I have a lot of experiences communicating with children spirits, which is quite sad, when they're actually children that have passed. But the concept of children in this context is very scary. So yeah. Moving on to the next story. My wife and I used to argue that there was something in this house. One night after we went to bed, I rolled over to see her sitting up. "What's the matter, hon?" I asked, thinking it was a bathroom run or something. She pointed into the living room and said, "Someone's walking around in there." I turned and looked, and there was a silhouette of a man in front of the TV. He placed himself perfect to be seen down the hallway. He stood there for what felt like 2 minutes, staring at us, then faded out. Normally, when you see a shadow, it's gone in a blink. He did not do that. It felt purposeful, like we were supposed to see him. A very uncomfortable feeling. Yeah, I get that. That is extremely uncomfortable. Again, ties kind of into what I'm going to tell you with my own personal experience in a bit. This next story is very short as well, but crazy. so I wanted to include it. So this user says, at the age of 6, I walked into the bathroom, which was pitch black due to having closed blackout curtains, and I saw a smoky skeletal entity rising out of the bathtub. It took a fair few years before I'd go up there without someone else being upstairs nearby. That's the end of that story. What do you mean a smoky skeletal entity? Next, absolutely not. Next story. My first house was built in 1913. After moving in, I knew pretty much right away that I wasn't alone because out of the corner of my eye, I would always see movement in the mirror of the built-in china cabinet. I also smoked back then and came out of the bedroom one morning to find the ashtray flipped off the end table onto the floor. Lots of little things kept happening over the years, but I never felt threatened or scared. We, meaning the ghost spirits and I, coexisted in the house with no problems. My boyfriend moved in after a few years, and then we got married. I talk about these things, and he just looked at me, never saying too much about it. And he traveled quite a bit for work, so I was home alone a lot. One night, I was on my computer listening to music and playing games. Plain as day, I was tapped from behind on the right shoulder 3 times. I screamed and jumped up, turned around, and nothing and no one was there. Scared the crap out of me. I told my now husband about it, and then he started opening up about the shadows he'd see moving around in my office. He talked about the footsteps he'd hear in the house when he was alone, the tapping on my shoulder. The tapping on my shoulder happened one other time after that. When we were moving out of the house and it was pretty much empty, I was there alone cleaning and I heard the footsteps he talked about. Whatever or whoever was there started to feel more menacing towards the end of our time there. I love the house, but was pretty glad when we left. No kidding. Hear a lot of stories like that where people say that when they're in a place that's said to be haunted or they feel like it's haunted and they're experiencing things, as they're planning to leave, things ramp up energetically. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it could be a call out to be from the spirits to like say don't leave. Like maybe they either like them there and so they're like trying to get them to stay. But when it's something menacing and the menacingness happens near the end, that confuses me because why? What are like they're just gonna move out faster unless they're like trying to do harm in some sort of way before they actually leave. But I don't know. And this is not me trying to like put it out into the universe for spirits, but something that I'll never quite understand is I mean, I'm afraid of spirits harming me, of course, like who wouldn't be, but I know that they're just energy. Like you can communicate with them, but and I have seen spirits hurt people before, but like they can't kill you. So, I don't know. Unless, well, I mean, knock on wood, but like maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just like, okay, they have the power to do all these things, but they can't kill you, right? Maybe I'm just telling myself that. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna live in that delusion though. Don't mind me. Seeing as I put myself into these haunted places often. Yeah, okay, moving on to the next story. Been looking forward to a post like this to share my story. I actually like reading people's experiences more than trying to glean something from blurry security footage. What does that mean? Either way, I digress. Doesn't seem relevant to the story. Just the first sentence to preface their story. Their story goes like this. So one of my closest friends growing up lived in a house that was beyond a reasonable doubt haunted AF. The house was definitely somewhere around a century old, or at least now it is, and our town was situated in a very woodsy suburb. He and every member of his family had experiences there. Several of our friends had their own experiences there, and I had my own too. Honestly, it would be impossible to try and condense it down into one experience, and I believe it's worth sharing the accounts that I can remember. I'll start with the least scary one, which was thankfully my own, and then move to the ones worth telling. And I don't know if they shared all their stories. We'll find out. This one was a long one, so buckle in, everybody. Grab a beverage. Okay, so during high school, my parents went on a vacation, and for days, I stayed at this particular house of my friend. Let's call him Paul. I stayed in Paul's room in a sleeping bag on the floor while he slept in his bed. One morning, I woke up to someone whispering in my ear, like directly into my ear, my name. You need to leave now. It did not say this super maliciously, almost more like a warning. It definitely woke me up though, and immediately I'm thinking Paul was fucking with me, as he frequently did. But I turned around to my right, where he was sleeping, and realized he was completely out. I said, "What?" to him, thinking he was joking around, and he didn't wake up. He was definitely asleep. It was quiet and still too early for even Paul's parents to be up. Then it hit me, as it still hits me today. I heard the whisper in my left ear, and Paul was on my right side. Paul had experiences in the same room, a few I can remember off the top of my head. For a time, he told me he suffered from sleep paralysis on a consistent basis. He would see demons in his room and would be unable to move. He told me that very frequently in his sleep, the standing fan by his bed would become a demon girl, and he would wake up with a jolt of adrenaline having punched or thrown the fan down to the ground. He told me he would sometimes see someone standing in his closet, in the closet his bed faced, both asleep and awake. And oddly enough, his sleep paralysis significantly decreased as soon as he moved out of that place. That floor, the second floor where Paul, his parents, and two of his four sisters slept, was spooky. I remember getting weird feelings up there. One of his sisters claimed to see the ghost of a little boy in their bathroom. His mom once opened the closet in her bedroom to find the same little boy standing in there, looking up at her and asking for his mom. I heard about that one when I was in middle school, and it always creeped me out. It's always scary when the adults see them too. Before my own experience, I generally thought Paul was just trying to fuck with me when he would tell me about these other experiences. Most of our other friends were the same way, thinking Paul was full of shit. Even after my own experience at times, I thought I just as easily could have dreamt it up. But then a few of those same friends, some of them complete non believers beforehand, had their own experiences, and that changed my whole idea of the house. Once a year, Paul and his family would take a trip and have someone take care of their two dogs. One of our mutual friends came over to do just that one day. When she got there and when she got there that evening to feed the dogs, the house was dark and empty. For some context, the dogs were being fed near the kitchen, and adjacent to the kitchen was the dining room, which led further away into the entryway, and after that, a small living room. Well, not long after feeding the dogs, she heard a blood-curdling scream, a goddamn shriek coming from that living room, like someone was inside with her. She booked it outside with the dogs, checked for intruders, and saw no one was there. I'm pretty sure after that she called Paul and told him what happened, and he laughed and said, "Yeah, shit like that happens sometimes." A couple years later, one of the bigger doubters in our group, who thought all of us were full of shit, had his own experience. Paul hosted a fair amount of parties back then, and usually we would use his basement to avoid any sort of noise complaints. So all of us are in the basement having a good time, and this particular friend of ours decides to run up and grab another drink from upstairs. Mind you, this friend is not the kind of guy to get completely fucked up. Like, he'll only ever have a beer or two at most. So, for all intents and purposes, he's sober. He goes up, and the ground floor was completely empty as everyone is in the basement. There was a porch directly outside the dining room, entryway, living room, and it extended long ways across the back of the house. As our friend was walking into the dining room to grab a beer off the table, he sees a tall, grim looking woman standing on the porch outside, looking through the window directly at him. He knows something is wrong because she's sort of featureless and also standing outside by herself, looking inside. He takes his eyes off of her for one moment, looks back, and she's gone. A few days later, he tells Paul what happened, and Paul tells him how he and his siblings have seen that same woman before, and our friend becomes a believer. The basement was creepy as hell, but I can only think of one thing that ever happened down there. It was more of a storage cellar than anything. We still used it for parties and just generally hanging out, but it was so cluttered with random shit that whole areas of the room were completely cut off. At some point in college, one summer when I was back home, Paul and his family were doing the annual Throw Old Shit Away Fest, and he openly invited some friends to come help. I came one day, and when I got there, Paul's dad nonchalantly told me, "You get to see the secret room." Turns out that in the far corner of the basement, behind a bunch of clutter, was a little storage closet nobody besides maybe Paul's parents knew about. We investigated it that day, and in it, we found a bunch of random old shit. I can't remember everything exactly. I don't even know if Paul's family knew what this stuff was. But among all of it, I specifically remember finding this very old fashioned vintage music box. You know, like the one in The Conjuring with the dancing ballerina, that kind of thing. We decided it was creepy and didn't want anything to do with it and left it in the closet. Well, on a different day, when I thankfully was not there, Paul and another friend were cleaning out the basement when suddenly that same music box started playing by itself from behind the door of the closet. They were alone and had not been in the closet all day, and they bolted upstairs. Whew, so much talking of it. This one's all very long story. At the top of the house, there were two small bedrooms, both belonging to Paul's older sisters. This is the last one I will share, as it is the story that stuck with me the longest. The second oldest sister once had a vivid, intense dream in which she herself was being exorcised. A demon was being forced out of her as a group of priests were standing over her convulsing body, shouting verse at her. And she remembered it just because it was so crazy intense. After enduring this for some time, she suddenly jolts herself awake and yells, and at that precise moment, a rosary that she kept hanging on her wall flies from its place, crashes to the floor, and shatters into a bunch of pieces, completely on its own. She was covered in sweat, completely terrified, and no one else was in the room. Yeah, that place was fucking haunted. I can't. Um, so we've heard a few stories tonight about people seeing shadow figures, silhouettes in doorways, and like I mentioned, there was a few stories with that kind of element, and I will never forget my own experience with that. So I figured it was appropriate in this stream to share that story. I'm gonna get comfy right now because now we are in my portion of the stream where I can talk about my own little. Oh, also, I forgot to mention to you guys. So in my last stream, I also have my cozy little fall blanket because why would you not? um, can you guys hear the sirens? That's like right outside my window. Anyways, I hope everyone is okay. The weather has been so bad today. I have been inside basically all day except to take my dog out. I'm really praying that this winter ends soon. I can't. But before I get into my paranormal experience here, I do want to mention so on Monday, for our Monday stream, we talked about, and it is available for recap if you are watching this right now and you missed it. It is the haunted objects stream that we did on Monday. And at the end, I was looking on it with you guys and looking at some haunted dolls to possibly purchase. And I came across one and I had my eyes on it. And I told myself, if in the morning I feel like buying it, I will. I did not buy it. But that does not mean that we are not going to get a haunted doll. I just did not feel like it was calling to me specifically. I felt like I was rushing into it. And if I'm going to get a haunted doll, I really want it to be the right fit for me and my household. And we were looking at a demon couple. So the two dolls that were apparently a demon. The one I was really looking at was an imp. So yeah, who knows? I might end up with an imp. Probably not a demon doll, but I am still on the hunt for a haunted doll. So if anyone is watching this right now and you see a haunted doll that you think I should have, definitely send it my way in my DMs, in my emails, wherever. I would definitely be interested. I'm on the hunt for one. I do not have one yet. So that is the update on the haunted doll from last stream. Now, let's talk about my paranormal experience. I've talked about this a couple of times because I still have no explanation. And every time I tell this story, nobody can give me an explanation for it. So if you have a rational explanation, definitely let me know in the chat, in the comments, wherever you'd like, at whatever point you're watching this. So I this was in my last place. My husband and I were living in a basement apartment, and we were asleep in bed, and it was a small basement apartment. Like, we had our bedroom, and then there was a little den, which was our office. They were both, like, separated by 2 separate doors. Our main living area, a bathroom, and a kitchen, the whole shebang. And we were sleeping, as one does at night. And this was I wanna say this was in 2021, so I had been paranormal investigating, for about a year, but I hadn't gone to any crazy places yet. Like, I had done mostly things by myself at this point, and, a lot of outside locations. So, it was the very beginning of my paranormal investigation journey. And when I first moved into this apartment, it was definitely not haunted. It didn't have any of those vibes. So I always say this, like, with that place, it became haunted for sure because of all the things that were happening besides what I'm about to tell you right now. Um, but it was haunted after I started paranormal investigating, so I definitely brought something home. Like, I was investigating somewhere and something came home with me. Though it wasn't anything bad. Like, I never felt bad energy in that place, and it was never anything menacing or scary. There was just something there. So I feel like it was something that maybe liked my energy and just, like, knew I was trying to communicate with it, so maybe it just came home. I don't know. I don't know, but, all I know is it wasn't haunted, and then all these weird things started to happen. I saw some weird shit in that house, um, including this night. So, my husband and I are sleeping. The bed is, like, we have a queen bed, and it's, like, up against the wall, and he sleeps next to the nightstand, and I sleep next to the wall, at least in this place. Now we don't have our bed next to a wall on either side, but at this place, I was next to the wall. So, sleeping, sound asleep, and I wake up, and I look, and we had, our door open, and there was a light coming from the kitchen. And that was, like, the only light in this place. So, I'm looking at my door, and I'm blind. Also, oh, wait, I'm wearing my contacts right now. What am I saying? I'm like, "Where are my glasses?" I can see currently, but I'm also blind. I have very bad vision. I think I'm, like, -4 on both eyes, whatever. So, I need my glasses when I'm not wearing contacts. And obviously, when I'm sleeping, I'm not wearing contacts because you can't. So, I wake up and I see a silhouette, cute queen. I see a silhouette of a man, in my doorway, and even though I'm, like, blind, I can still, like, see shapes and stuff. And it's backlit because, like I said, there's a light coming from the kitchen, but that's the only light that's on, and so I see the silhouette of a man, and that's all I can see in the doorway. He's backlit. Uh, but even though it's blurry, I can tell that it's the shape of a man. So I'm like, "Oh," and my first instinct is, "Oh, that's my husband." 'Cause why would there be any other man in my apartment right now watching me sleep, right? Logical. So, I'm like, "Okay, that's my husband." I'm like, "Why is he just standing there, though?" And I sit up a little bit, and I look down, and my husband's sleeping right next to me. So I'm like, "Who is this man watching us sleep right now?" And I feel like I don't know, I think in my half waking up stage, and I, like, tapped my phone that was right next to me, and it was 3 in the morning, so lovely, witching hour. Um, I I feel like I just knew in my heart that it was paranormal, and that's why I reacted this way, but I still like, I told my husband this next morning, he was like, "Why didn't you wake me?" And I was like, Good point, don't know." Um, and my first instinct was to get closer to this man in my doorway. So I, like, start scooting to the edge of the bed. So I'm, like, fully awake now. I see this silhouette of a man in my doorway. My husband is right next to me sleeping. I'm scooting towards the edge of the bed, and I stand up, and as soon as I stand up, the man turns to the side and he walks away, and he's, like, walking towards, um, the door to our office, okay? And there's no exit that way, like, even if he went into the office, there's no window in there, the only window is behind us in our bedroom, and on the opposite side of the office, um, there's a window near our door to our apartment. That's it. And so he walks towards our office where there's no exit, and I got scared. And I went back to bed. Woke up in the morning, there our doors are locked, our windows are locked, and obviously no one came in that night. So I still have no explanation for this. I would normally say I feel like that might be maybe a dream or something, except for the fact that I was fully awake, like, I was standing up and I saw this man. Um, so if I had, like, maybe stayed lying down, like, I could maybe run it as, like, "Okay, I'm just, like, dreaming, I'm coming out of sleep." But I was, like, fully awake at that point. Like, when I was first coming to, I was like, "Okay, maybe," but standing up, like, there was no explanation for that. There was a full man in my doorway. And so I wanted to share that story because of the stories there was at least how many stories were there? Like 3 or 4 stories where people had experiences seeing, like, a figure in their doorway, while they were sleeping or just, like, in a dark room or something. So, I don't know, I just felt like it was appropriate to share my own my own tale of that nature. Um, but yeah, so I mean, aside from that, that was like the well, that was the first time I'd experienced seeing something in that apartment, but I did and this one was crazy, actually. This one was crazy too. I actually don't know if I've told this online yet. Um, this particular story, I don't think I've shared on, like, my TikTok or anything. I think it was just, like, in podcasts, like, here and there in passing, but, this one I'm pretty sure I haven't told. So, same apartment and kind of same setup. I was sitting in my bed, um, in my, like, husband's spot. So I and the lights were on, like, I was fully awake, I was just chilling in bed. I think I was on TikTok or something. And I was sitting on my husband's side of the bed, and I had a clear vision of our kitchen. Like, our bedroom lights on, living room lights on, kitchen lights on. I can see the kitchen. My husband is in the office with the door closed because he was working on something. I think he was working on a project. So he's in the office, door closed. And I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see a figure walk like past the door frame into the kitchen. And I call out because I was like, I knew my husband was working in the office and I didn't hear him open the door. And I also didn't see him walk that way. Because he would have to like kind of walk past me and then down, and I would have seen more of him. I was just confused. I was like, "Why? How did he get there?" I it didn't make any sense to me. So I call out to him. I'm like, "Babe, like, what are you doing?" No answer. And I'm like still fixated on the kitchen. Like I haven't stopped looking at it. And I call it again. I'm like, "Babe, like, what's up?" Knowing damn well in my head that's not my husband. But anyways, I digress. I stand up and I walk towards the office, or not office, sorry. I walk towards the kitchen, passing the office, which door is still closed. And I walk towards the kitchen and I turn and I look and there's no one in there, naturally. And then I go to the office and I open the door and my husband is in there working. And I say to him, "Did you just get out of the office and go to the kitchen and then come back?" I knew that that wasn't possible, but I still wanted to ask. And he's like, "No, I've been working here this whole time." And I was like, "Oh, cool," because I just saw something walk into the kitchen. Fully, like, it is, like, probably I don't know, at this point, it's probably, like, 5 or 6 PM, like, it's not early, but it's not late, like, it is, you know, evening, late afternoon, evening time, and fully awake, saw this figure walk into my kitchen. Like, and to be clear, it was only a shadow. That's why I was kind of confused because it was like all dark. But I still like in my head, I'm like thinking, okay, this has to be my husband. Like, what else would it be? Not it just a shadow figure that's like lurking in my house, casual things. Um, yeah. And up to that point, that was really the only time I'd ever seen, or that's like the only thing that I would ever see. Like I'd only ever see shadow figures, and that's it. Like anytime, most of my experiences are hearing, like I'll hear things or I'll feel them, but I will see only like shadow things until November. I saw my very first like apparition that was solid and in color, and I just made a weird throat noise. What was that? Um, sounded like a frog. Um, yeah, I saw my first apparition and it was like solid. It was in color and I thought it was a real person. Like you could have fooled me. I would have totally thought that was a real person. It was not a real person. It was definitely a spirit. It was during a seance. It was the craziest thing in my life and I was stunned. And I was not the only person who saw it, but I was the only person who saw it in color. Everyone else saw a shadow. So I'm taking that as a sign from the spirit world that I'm going to be seeing more solid apparitions. That is all I've been wanting when it comes to, like, paranormal investigating. I'm like, "I just wanna see, like, I wanna see a spirit that looks like you and I." I guess the next thing on my list is to be able to see a spirit, like, and see their face as if I'm having a conversation with them. Because this they were wearing what I saw was basically honestly, it was really creepy. It was like someone had a cloak and the hood was over their head, so I couldn't see skin, at all, but it was like a solid cloak, like, it looked like clothing. Like, I totally thought it was a person, like, in a robe with the hood on, um, and it was like a army green color, and they had the hood on. They were every time I describe this, I'm like, "This is the creepiest thing ever," um, but they were, like, scuttering, I don't know what the word is, across the floor fast, and they were, like, using their, like, hands to push them forward, like, they were, like, almost, like, on all fours, but it wasn't an animal, it was a person, even though I couldn't see skin, like, the stature, like, I could tell the body shape and, like, I could tell how they were propelling themselves forward. It was like they were walking with all 4 limbs. And then with this cloak on. It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Don't know why they were doing it. It was absolutely terrifying. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. Not just the fact that it was an apparition that I was seeing solid in front of my eyes, but, like, just the way that they were moving, absolutely insane. Like, chills. Still to this day, like, this was oh. But I digress. That was my experience with an apparition. So, I mean, hopefully this year we see and we can communicate. I would love to, like, see a spirit that looks like you and I and, like, talk to it and have it respond back, but I feel like that doesn't happen that often. I feel like people who do see spirits like that often enough, they're usually silent. Actually, you know what? I remember my, my dad's adopted parents, my dad's parents, um, they are both, passed on now, rest in peace to them forever, but, I love them dearly. They have both had paranormal experiences, and I remember I never actually learned this to my grandfather. My grandfather passed away when I was quite young, so he never actually told me this story, but my grandmother did, and, um she we used to go, like, every single weekend, we would go grocery shopping with her and take her out, um, because she like, when her husband passed, my dad would kinda, he would be there to take her grocery because she didn't drive or anything like that, so we would take her grocery shopping and all that, and it would be, like, a whole day, like, we'd go and hang out at her place, and then this was such fond memories, oh my god, now that I think about it, like, we would go Grocery shopping, which it sounds like such like a random thing, like, why is that such a fun memory? It was just a good time, like, I don't know, we always went to, there's a store in Canada, or it used to be anyways, I don't think that they're back. I thought they were coming back, I don't think they are anymore, but, it was called Zellers, and it's basically like a Target or like a I don't know, like a Target, it's the only way I can remember to describe it, but they had a diner and Zellers, and it was like a 50s style diner, and we always ate lunch there before we went grocery shopping, and, like, to the point, like, the server, it was the same server every week. I wanna say her name was Doris or Dolores. Watch me be forgetting her name. It was such I think it was Doris or Dolores. It was, like, something along those veins. Shoot, now I feel bad for forgetting because it was such like, she was such a staple in our lives. I just remember the server at Zeller's, but it's been a while since I um, interacted with her. This restaurant closed so long ago, but, anyways, it was always the same lady. She'd always be our waitress, um, and I remember my grandma telling me this story at the Zeller's restaurant vividly. So and I don't even know how we got onto this topic. It must have been around the time that my dad and I had a paranormal experience because I don't know why else we would be talking about it. Um, but we were one opened again out west. I thought okay, so I is it permanently open out west or did it like come up as a pop-up? Because I feel like it came to Ontario as well, but it was a pop-up. The Skillet restaurant. Was that what it was? It was like a 50 style thing. It was like blue or teal colored, unless that was just the one in Oakville. But um yeah, it was such good food, honestly, it slapped. I remember I always got the lemon meringue pie there, I don't know, that was such, like, a key factor to the meal. Anyways, my, grandmother was telling me and my dad and my brother, I feel like he was there too, um, but she was telling us this story, and she was saying that one time, her and my grandfather were at this Holiday Inn in Buffalo, New York, and I forget what I think he was working or something, I don't know, she was there. And so they were there, and they didn't know that the place was haunted, but they ended up having weird experiences and talked to the receptionist and learned that it was. Yes, okay, so it was a skillet restaurant. Good memory. I did not remember what it was called at all. I was like, "It's the '50s diner." Um, but yeah, so she was telling us a story. So she said that my grandfather, um, w told her this. So he walked into the elevator at this hotel, at this Holiday Inn, and when the doors opened, there was a little girl standing inside, like this little white dress. He walked in and he said hi to her. She didn't say anything. She was just standing, looking straight ahead. And he's like, hi. And she's doing nothing. She's just staring straight ahead. And he kind of leaves it. He doesn't say anything else. She's like, okay, she's not gonna say anything. Whatever, just trying to be nice. Just like a little girl. I'm totally making up how he acted in the situation. In my head, I'm just like, okay, weirdo. But no, he was probably just like, okay, whatever. Um, so he sees this little girl, tries to interact with her. She does not interact. He gets off the elevator and she's still on it. And doors close and he goes on about his business. Um, he ended up finding out later that there is said to be a little girl that died in that hotel. Well, not in that, but she died in that space before it was a Holiday Inn, and people have seen her, particularly in the elevators. So that was crazy. I remember when my grandmother told me that, I was like, "Grandpa saw a literal girl ghost. Are you kidding me? That's insane." In the best way. And she told me that she didn't see anything, but when she was in there was like a little restaurant, eatery section of the hotel, and she was down there. She was eating or having coffee. I don't remember exactly what the detail was, but she was down in this restaurant, and there was a bunch of plants, like little fern things hanging from the ceiling, and one of them started, like, swinging aggressively, like, back and forth, and the server was telling her that, not at the 50s diner, but at the, um, Holiday Inn. The waitress was telling her that sometimes there's a little girl ghost, she likes to swing from the plant sometimes. So, crazy. I just that was such a vivid memory. I was like, "Wow, my grandparents had paranormal experiences. That's so cool." Um, and yeah, just a visceral memory. I'll always remember those stories, and the fact that they both had, like, experiences with the little girl ghost at the hotel, just in different variations, wild to me. But yeah, I believe my grandmother was telling me that because around that time period, my dad and I had a paranormal experience together, um, in our hometown, and we saw this, like, shadow figure drop down the staircase, and we went to go investigate because we thought it was a real person, and because I mean, if it was a real person, we wanted to help them. They just made this huge, like, 90-foot drop. We're like, and there was no one there. And we both saw it, and oh my god, the scream that they let out was crazy. It was like, there's no way that that's not a real person. It was not a real person. There was no one in the area, and we ended up learning that that place was built on an ancient burial ground and was haunted. So yeah, so that's how we got onto the topic with my grandmother, but anyways, I digress. Those are my experiences. We're also already at an hour. What the heck? Wow. These streams go by so fast. Also, you guys, I'm so sorry. My energy today has been I meant to say this at the beginning, but I'll say it now. My energy for this stream, I know is a little bit lower than it normally is. I'm also, like, so much more, like, casual and cozy and, like, hoodie, hair up, like, no makeup. Um, I've not been feeling good today, but I was like, I look forward to these streams and I like hanging out with you guys and talking spooky. And I'm like, I'm not missing the stream unless I'm like, my voice is gone or like so sick that I'm like in bed. I will deal with it. But I've been dealing with a migraine all day and I deal with migraines. Like I get them quite often. So I'm used to it. It sucks, but I'm used to it. So I was like, "Ugh," like, I've been looking forward to the stream. I wanna stream, but, like, my head hurts so bad. So I was like, "Okay, it's 2 things. It's either a migraine or I'm I just have a headache because I'm dehydrated or something." But I tried all the things. I had my water, I had my electrolytes, I had my energy drinks even because sometimes it's caffeine related. So I made sure I had that. Like, I ate. I'm checking all the boxes and my headache still remains. So I'm like, well, okay, so this is just how it is. I'm just gonna have a migraine today. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep today's stream pretty low key casual. I was meant to say this at the beginning of the stream and I totally forgot. Just to like warn everyone that I was gonna be a little bit lower energy today because my head is pounding. But at least I told you guys now. The beginning of the stream also, if whoever's watching in the recap, or if you go back and you watch it, because if you join late or whatever, I did have to make sure to post on my story and threads that we were going live because I always do that, and my head has been hurting all day to the point where I forgot to do that. I went live on TikTok to remind people that I was going live, but I forgot to post on Instagram and threads. So I was doing that for a little bit before we got into the stories on the stream. So unprofessional of me, but I promise next time I will do it ahead of time. But clearly my head's not been in the game today. Um, Hot coffee and an ice pack or the spirits around equals headaches. That is true. And as we spoke about recently on these streams, my current house is definitely haunted and my attic right there, my folded laundry, disregard that. My attic door right there has provided me with some activity recently. Fix this. So, I mean, I know there are spirits here. They're good spirits. They just kind of chill and do their thing. But I do suffer with migraines. So I think it's mostly going to be that. Usually when it's spiritual or like paranormal related, it's more of like a sharp pain. This is migraine radiation, if that's the right word. Hot coffee though. I might have to do that because usually I get my caffeine from energy drinks. So I might have to try the hot coffee because that actually sounds kind of nice. And the ice pack. I went for a walk and that felt nice because it was like cold outside. So it was like rush to my face. Um, a fun fact though, oh my God, look at me. You know, we're already past the hour of this. It could be the weather that's coming too. Actually, that's a good point. I do get headaches that are weather related. So um, that's actually a really good point. But what was I gonna say? Fun fact. I'm saying this all now because the spooky part of the stream is over now. We're just kind of in the bonus part of the stream. um, but I last week on Wednesday I got a piercing. I decorate my ears. You can't really tell in this lighting, but I have 12 ear piercings total. We're growing them. We will soon be completely decked out all over the ears. That's the goal. Enjoy the content on Instagram, Krista. Catching up on streams. Keep doing your thing. Thank you, Hollywood. Thank you. We are live every single Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So whenever you can make it live and hang out and chit chat and live chat, that's where I'll be. Otherwise, they're always going to be available for rewatch. So watching them afterwards always helps. Make sure you leave it a like and a comment because that makes my heart so happy. Thank you so much. But there's a point to my ears also, just so you know. We're talking about my headache, so I promise there's a purpose to this. But so I have 12 ear piercings total, and I got another one last week. Now, I got it because of the aesthetic. Like, I wanted this piercing. I like the way it looks. I thought it was a good addition to my ear. Like, I have a bunch of I'm trying to figure out, like, I have all in the cartilage in different areas. This one's kind of tucked away, but my ruck is in there. Vertical helix, all that. This one is my new one. And I'm trying to show it to you and not be too gross because it is a little bloody right now because it is pretty fresh. But that one is called the Doth, and it like goes into that little cartilage right above your tragus area. Doth, Daith. Pronounced Doth. It's a Hebrew word, I believe, that means knowledge, I want to say. So it's pronounced Doth, but you can say Daith as well. Same thing. Piercers will know what you mean. But anyways, the myth with the Doth piercing is that it helps with migraines. Didn't get it for that reason. But I was like, cool, I have migraines. So if it works, it works. Well, guess what? It's not working. So myth confirmed. I don't know where that came from. I think because of like where the placement of the piercing is. People are like, oh, like it's like acupressure or something like, I don't know. But I got it because I like the look of it. So I was like, if it helps with my migraines, that would be cool too. But I have heard that it's a myth, and I mean, so far it's confirmed to be a myth because I literally have had it pierced for a week now. Already have a migraine. So any hoodle. Total sidetrack, but again, like I said, we're at the end of the stream, so just wanted to take a moment and chit chat with you guys, and thank you for being here and putting up with my low energy Monday. If I swear to God, if I have a migraine on Monday, we're gonna have a problem. What do you mean? So hopefully Monday I'm feeling better. I definitely will be. We'll have more energy and be back on track. But thank you for sticking with me for this stream, watching it live, or if you're watching it in the recap, thank you for making it all the way through. It makes me so happy when you guys do that. I have been loving making long form content, whether it's a YouTube video or on live stream and doing these long pieces of content. It's super fun for me, and I love that you guys are interested in it. We just hit 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy. I know I have a little bit more of a following on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. And I love those platforms. Always will forever be grateful. And I always create content on there, of course. I love long form content, and I've loved YouTube, and I've been wanting to put my heart into YouTube. And I told myself 2026 was going to be the year. So we're at the beginning of the year, we're doing 2 streams a week, and we're doing 1 video a week, some of which will be paranormal investigations. So we're already off to a hot start. There are 3 paranormal investigations now in the bank. So we have a paranormal investigation at a hotel, at a fort, and at a town hall coming up very, very soon. So you guys are not going to want to miss that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate that. I'm hoping that I sleep and we're feeling better in the morning. Sometimes that works. Hopefully, they sometimes stick around for a couple days. So yeah, so we got paranormal investigations coming up. So those are the 3 that are done and they are coming to the channel soon. Also on top of that, besides paranormal investigations, you guys will get like sit down videos where we talk about ghost stories and haunted places and experiences and things like that on top of these live streams. So the content is going to be coming and it won't be stopping, and I'm so excited. But yeah, on top of the 3 that have been filmed already and are coming your way, I'm in the midst of booking more paranormal investigations. So there are some cool locations in the bank that are in the talks that are coming and going to be done into the spring, into the summer, into the fall, into the winter. This is going to be a good year. So, if you are into paranormal investigations and ghost stories, you're going to want to subscribe. I've mentioned this a couple times too. I guess it depends because obviously we do these live streams on Mondays and Thursdays. So if I'm doing a paranormal investigation on one of those days, then I guess you guys are going to have to deal with a live stream that's a live paranormal investigation for an hour, maybe. It's the worst. It is the worst, Jennifer. I don't, but I mean, I'm on my screen all day because, like, besides this, obviously I do this for fun. I have my day job, and my day job is communications, so I'm always on my screen. So I feel like that doesn't help as well. But how often do you typically get an investigation? I'll be doing Beale House in February in Ohio. Okay. It depends. I try. December's usually an anomaly. I've done a couple investigations in December's before, but I try to take December's off for the holidays. But typically I aim for at least once a month, if not more. It really just depends. Things are changing this year a little bit because I am switching to more a Hauntingly Krista focus, so I might be doing things a little bit more frequently. But it really just depends on like the weather as well. Like right now, I'm not traveling very many places because I hate driving in the snow, but and when it's nicer out, I'm definitely driving more places to investigate. So it varies. But typically I try for at least one a month, mostly. So the fact you said Beale House in February in Ohio. So the Beale Manor is a gorgeous location. I did that last May. Gorgeous, massive. I was not prepared for how big that place is, though it's a manor. So I guess I should have put 2 and 2 together. But the Beale Manor is so big. You're gonna love it. It's stunning. The stories are crazy. If you watch investigations at the Beale Manor on YouTube, absolutely crazy. Like some of the evidence people gather at this place, while they have little booklets that you can read when you're there, and people leave their experiences there. I also put in my own entry from May, so look for that from when I was there with my team. But I was so disappointed with my experience at Beale, but do not take my experience for it. We were an anomaly, I swear. I we called one of our friends who had investigated before and they had a great experience there, and telling them like nothing's happening. What do we do? And she was like, "Oh, go to the basement. Basement's like." So that's a tip for you. Spend a lot of your time in the basement. That's where a lot of things happen. So we're like, "Okay, cool. We'll do that." So we went down to the basement. Nothing happened. We called her in the basement. We're like, "We're in the basement right now." We were so the Beale Manor is known for look at me going 15 minutes over. Sorry, guys. But now I'm in a tangent. I don't think you guys mind if I'm hanging out for a little bit longer than an hour. But yeah, so we were in the basement, and the basement in the Beale Manor is known for a biter and a scratcher, like entities that will bite and scratch people, which is terrifying, and you don't want that. People have experienced it there. I know people who've experienced it there. So I'm like, you know, that's crazy. How wild would that be? But obviously we're not enlisting. No, don't say you're bad. You're good. We're not like enlisting that kind of, entity to harm us or anything like that. But we got to a point where now we're in this basement and nothing is happening. And we're like, why are we getting nothing? Like, I'm talking the Estes method we did, not very good. Like, some things were coming through, but it wasn't fantastic. Spirit box, nothing really. Like, it was just dead. It was crazy. I've like never experienced anything like this. And we put it out on our team channel because obviously, like, and even like when I was a part of my team and like now doing my stuff alone, I will never fake anything. I do not stand by that at all. Like, I'm going out to Paranormal Investigate to because I believe in this stuff and I want to experience things and I want to share my real experiences with people. So if I experience nothing, you guys are going to see nothing. And I stood by that when I was with my team and I stand by that now. So with that, we put out our investigation video even though nothing happened because, well, we had some stuff again come through on Spirit Box and I think some flashlight activity, but it was like basically nothing. Like it was the most disappointing and sad experience, especially for a place that had such potential and it still does. Like other people have had amazing experiences there, but I was just like and I was just so excited for this place and it just nothing. And so I showed that, and I will continue and I will tell people that I wanna go back. I need to go back there because I need to redeem that place. I need to actually experience something. I don't know what kinda off night we were there on. Zip Oh, that's what I was saying. We were literally in the basement after our friend had told us, "Oh, all of our activity happened in the basement. Go to the basement." Nothing was happening in the basement. We started saying out loud to the spirits, "We'll give you permission this one time, bite us, scratch us. Like, if you wanna do that, this is what you do, spirits. Do it. We're okay with it. We're giving you permission in this one moment to bite and scratch us." Nothing. We didn't get bite or scratched. Bitten bitten or scratched. It was crazy. Like, here we are. We're literally at our breaking point. We're, like, telling this entity that harms people, bites and scratches them, we're asking it to bite and scratch us, and nothing. That's how you know that we got to such a bad point during that investigation. Crazy. LOL, yeah, that happens. Sometimes it's just quieter than quiet. That's the best way to explain it. Quieter than quiet. It's definitely worth going to. I really hope you guys get something, and I'm definitely going to be going back for sure. I could not believe it. And our friend that we're in the basement talking to her, and we're like, "We're in the basement. Nothing is happening." She's like, "That's crazy. I don't know why that's happening to you." We had such great stuff in the basement. I'm like, "Girl, I wish, I wish." So, like, it's such an anomaly. We ended up finding out side note, we ended up talking to the owner because we told the owner, we're like, "We don't know what happened, but there was nothing." And they were shocked by it too, like the fact there was nothing. But they had mentioned that that night that we were there was middle of May last year, 2025. There might be a news article about it. I don't know. But there was a train accident, I think it was, or an accident on tracks that was like right down the street from the Beale Manor. And I don't wanna misquote this, but there were people that passed, and I wanna say there was a baby involved too, but we were told from a few people, mediums as well as, um, some people that we spoke to and we learned about the tragedy, we're like, sometimes when it comes to things like that, it's possible that the energy just kinda gravitates towards other places, so, like, if there's something traumatic happening, that might have been why. I don't really know how that correlates, but we were told that as a possibility, as, like, an explanation, not from the owner or anything like that, from mediums, but I don't know. I don't know how that correlates. Besides the fact that that happened in the same area, I don't know how it correlates, but that's what we were told. But yeah, anyways, that was here I am going on my tangent about Beale Manor, but I really hope you have a good experience there. Look at me getting all uncozified, moving my blanket because now that it means it's time to end this stream. um, but yeah, no, I do hope that you have a better experience at Beale Manor because it is a gorgeous place. I don't know if you've been before or not, or if this is your first time going, but stunning. Of course. um, but with all of that being said, I know we ran a little bit late today, but again, like I said, I don't think you guys mind. A part of this stream, besides talking about all the spooky things, is like chit chatting with you guys. So, um, with all that being said, that's going to wrap up tonight's Haunting Hour Live. And honestly, some of these stories that we spoke about tonight about these real people's real experiences that they shared on Reddit, they're going to live rent free in my head for a while. So thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, for sharing your stories, for reacting in the chat, and helping make this such a fun and very spooky space tonight. This community is seriously one of my favorite parts about doing this. So thank you all. If you did share a story tonight with me in the chat, or if you are going to send me an email with your stories, thank you. And if you didn't, but you've been sitting here thinking, yeah, something like that happened to me, remember, I do want to hear it. So please send me an email. You can do that at KristaMaryKBusiness@hotmail.com. It is in the description. And I will read it for a future stream. Just a reminder, the Haunting Hour Live is on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you missed any part of tonight's episode or want to rewatch it later, all episodes are available in my live tab on my channel, and they will always be. So if you missed the beginning part, you need to go back, or if you missed this entirely, you can go back as well. And outside of the live streams, there are new videos every week from Paranormal Investigations to sit down spooky discussions. So make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications turned on. Until next time, stay spooky, trust your instincts, and if something whispers your name when you're alone, maybe don't answer it. Thank you all so much. Never to Beale, but to Madison Seminary. Ooh, that is the location I want to go to this year, hopefully. Madison has been on my list. That and Fairfield. Thank you so much. Good night. I know it always goes by so fast, and now we have to wait till Monday for our next stream, but thank you so much. Thank you, Hollywood. Definitely do that. I would love that. And again, your stories can be read on my stream. I would love to share them with everyone and have everyone interact with the stories as well. So I will see you all on Monday night at 7 p.m. for the next live, and there will be another video out on my channel this week. And with that all being said, thank you so much, and make sure to like this video, comment a ghost emoji in the comments, and subscribe. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Good night.